join me in welcoming His Excellency, President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana.
So what do? I come straight to the podium? Okay. A set of statistics that I've been pulling out to make the point. Between Ghana and our neighbor Côte d'Ivoire, we produce 65% of the world's output of cocoa. The chocolate industry is a 100 billion United States dollars industry. And we, who produce 65% of its raw material, cocoa, make less than $6 billion from the toil of our farmers, i.e. barely 6% of the entire value chain of cocoa. The farmers, whose efforts make possible the growth of this lucrative industry, receive merely a pittance for their labors. This is not right. We need to change the statistics. If we simply ground and sold the cocoa in paste form, instead of selling the cocoa beans, we double our earnings. In much the same way as we double our earnings from gold if we sold it refined than in its raw states. I do understand that there are nations who have built their industrial complexes around the value chain of our raw commodities. It is time to change that setup. In Ghana, through my government's one district, one factory policy, we're ensuring an even spatial spread of industries. This policy is intended to promote rapid rural industrialization at the district level, driven by strong linkages to agriculture and other natural resource endowments in order to create jobs and development. It's time we were responsible for processing our own resources. It is time that we in Africa manage our resources well to generate wealth for our populations. What is true of our agricultural resources is equally so, if not more so, for our mineral resources. 30% of the Earth's remaining minerals are to be found on the continent of Africa. We've been told by the highly respected former president of the Republic of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, chair of the high-level panel that produced a report on illicit financial flows from Africa, commissioned by the Joint African Union Commission and United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Conference of African Ministers for Finance, Planning, and Economic Development, that Africa is losing annually more than 50 billion United States dollars through illicit financial outflows. He revealed further that between 2000 and 2008, 252 billion, i.e. 56%, was from the extractive industries, including mining. Imagine the implications of us ensuring that even 50% of these amounts remain on the continent. We have to work feverishly at that. There's a critical need to involve young people in decisions that affect them. We cannot talk about sustainable development without the active involvement of youth. The former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon argues that when we give young people decent jobs, political weight, negotiating muscle, and real influence in our world, they'll create a brighter future. Hence, Africa cannot talk about shaping the future without talking about the welfare and well-being of young people. It is important that Africa take these ideas forward to harness the value of a youthful population, holding human rights, gender equality, development of human capital, and dignity at the center of all of our investments. Only by providing opportunities that open the future to all young people do we create a brighter future. The median age in Ghana is 19 and a half years. Hence the overriding importance of democratic consolidation in Africa. Post-colonial authoritarian rule failed the African peoples. It continued the impoverishment of our people, which was the consequence of colonialism and imperialism. As a result, a new paradigm shift is being undertaken to guide the transformation of poor agrarian economies into value-adding industrialized economies on the basis of democratic values and institutions. Africa is indeed attempting something novel in human history. We're trying to use the instruments of democracy to propel societies from poverty to prosperity. All previous successful efforts in this direction have been made either by authoritarian regimes or by limited democracies. Britain is a case in point. The 19th century Industrial Revolution took place against a background of limited franchise for the mass of the British people. Indeed, the wide extensions of the franchise by the Great Reform Acts of the 19th century went hand in hand with the evolution of the Industrial Revolution. And it was only in 1928 that women finally achieved the right to vote, long after the triumph of the Industrial Revolution. America is another case in point, where for most of the 19th and 20th centuries, her black population was denied the right to vote, even though the Industrial Revolution also triumphed in America in the late 19th century. We in Africa are proceeding on the basis of full universal adult suffrage in promotion of human rights on a broad scale. If we succeed, which I'm very confident we will, we would have done something unprecedented in human history. It would enable us to build a new progressive African civilization, grounded on a system of governance that respects individual liberties and human rights, the rule of law, and the principles of democratic accountability, and rooted in our own indigenous cultural identity, which will make its own unique contribution to the growth of world civilization. My speech has many of the makings of a dream, but it is a dream that is grounded in reality. I don't accept that the African has a DNA that dooms us to failure. Africans can, like all the other peoples that have succeeded, make life meaningful and worth living for their own people. We must cultivate an irrepressible desire to do right by the citizens. The resources of our nations belong to our people. They do not belong to the political class or any other elite. To appropriate the wealth of our nations for the benefit of a few is both morally wrong and criminally culpable. On my part, I've established the Office of Special Prosecutor, an independent, non-partisan body with a relevant professional capability, led by a renowned anti-corruption campaigner, indeed who's a leading member of the opposition, to investigate and prosecute exclusively acts of corruption. The office is to lead the fight and hold public officials, past and present, accountable for their stewardship of public finances. Africans, dare I say, can and must do it themselves. We cannot expect others to do it for us. Many of us felt a sense of guilt and shame when the former British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, said, and I quote, "Africa is the scar on the conscience of the world," unquote. We can and must build Africa on a strong foundation of the ability and industry of its citizens, an Africa that exemplifies the true spirit of its people working towards the common goal of better existence. Honest, disciplined management of public finances, strong macroeconomic fundamentals, competitive business environment, enhanced mobilization of savings and investments. These are some of the basic elements that have to be established to permit the growth of robust economies on the continent, which can then generate jobs and rising living standards for our young people. They are the mix of Ghana's current economic profile, a mix that has enabled the Ghanaian economy to grow from 3.6% in 2016 to 8.5% in our first year of office in 2017, 6.8% last year, and a projected 7.9% this year, making Ghana one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. There is an abundance of dynamic entrepreneurial talent on our continent, struggling to express itself and take advantage of such conditions. We have to encourage this expression with full force and ensure that we can stand on our own feet and make it impossible for the systematic looting and plundering of our human and material resources that have characterized much of our modern history to continue. This is the significance of the concept of Ghana beyond aid, indeed, of Africa beyond aid. This year, we will be commemorating the 400th anniversary of the commencement of one of the most unfortunate and barbaric episodes of human history, the transatlantic slave trade, when the first 20 West African slaves were brought to the Commonwealth of Virginia, which subsequently became part of the United States of America. Dubbed the Year of Return, the commemoration is a statement of our determination that never again should the African peoples permit themselves to be subjected to such dehumanizing conditions, sold into slavery, and have their freedoms curtailed in order to build up forcibly countries other than their own. And create wealth for the peoples of our unknown lands to which they were sent, wealth from whose enjoyment they were largely excluded. We also want to use the events of this year to solidify our relations with our kin and kith, descendants of Africa here in the Americas and the Caribbean. It should be obvious to all black people in the world by now that their dignity and standing are intricately bound up with the dignity and standing of Africa. Thankfully, most of Africa has decided to chart a fresh and new path. It is my hope that it will serve as the impetus for reshaping our countries and constructing a new road of growth and development in freedom, which will lift the long-suffering African masses out of poverty into the realms of prosperity and dignified existence. Joseph Boakai Dankwa, the Ghanaian colossus who was the father of modern Ghanaian nationalism and founder of the political tradition that gave birth to my party, the New Patriotic Party, said as far back as 1961, over 50 years ago, at the height of the 20th century Cold War, that the party's policy is, quote, is to liberate the energies of the people for the growth of a property-owning democracy in this land, with a right to life and freedom and justice as the principles to which the government and laws of the land should be dedicated in order specifically to enrich the life, property, and liberty of each and every citizen, unquote. This is our vision of human empowerment for Africa's golden future. It has been a great pleasure for me to spend my 75th birthday amongst you. It's an experience I'll not forget in a hurry. Once again, I thank you sincerely for making a part of this conversation and for your kind attention. May God bless the peoples of the United States of America and Ghana and Africa. Thank you.